Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Advanced, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment. We give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see it. And today we have a very, very interesting show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. So, as you guys know, election night was last night, and we now have a new president of the United States. First of all, I want to congratulate Donald Trump for becoming the 47th president of the United States. He's the president now, and whatever you think, whether you like him or not, he's now the new president. And I've always been one of those people. No matter who's in office, you always have to respect the office. Now, this is just my point of view. I'm not saying who you should like or whatever it is. That's just my personal ideology there. So there's that. Now, going into election night, we know that it's been a very politically charged environment, at least as it pertains to the United States, where people feel very strongly about the things that they feel about. But we've also known throughout the history of the United States, especially in media, we've always known that things can get a little bit dicey whenever you infuse sports and politics, right? And some sports fans usually view sports as a escape from reality. You go somewhere to just relax, blow off some steam, support your team or whatever it is, and you can get pack an arena full of people with different political views, and they can all be supporting one thing, which is an NBA team or a football team or a soccer team, whatever the case may be. But over the last few years, we've been seeing politics rear its head in the sports world. We really started to see that a lot on ESPN First Take around the Colin Kaepernick situation and so many other moments that we've had throughout the years. So what happened? Just this morning, I was going through the internet and I came across a pretty interesting sit down that took place on the Dan Le Batard show that featured Nick Wright, who's now presumably the face of FS1. We actually produced a show about this not too long ago where they're looking to make him the face of Fox Sports. And during this sit down, Dan Le Batard decided to ask Nick Wright to weigh in on the political climate in the United States. And not only did Nick Wright weigh in, he took it a step further. He actually dared sports fans to judge him for his views. And he welcomed it. And I was like, man, Nick is really going for it here. So for those of you who didn't hear what Nick Wright had to say, want to play what he has to say for you now, and then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to that there.
I did want to have you on Election Day, not just after a Chiefs victory, because I told you a long time ago, I don't know how early it was in your career, but you had spliced up on television about 5 minutes of commentary on race that was very high degree of difficulty. I didn't see it done very much on television because television generally doesn't have the room for it. On Election Day in an America that must confuse you, even though from Kansas City you've seen and lived around all types, and you've seen Kansas City boo unity on opening day because we've all fought about Kaepernick for 8 years to sort of welcome in this time in America. I give the floor to you now to talk about what is happening today, because I don't know your level of fear, and I don't know how disappointed you've been by America over the last 8 years.
I'm going to take, if the floor is really mine, I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction, because I don't know that I have the right to be disappointed. I don't think anything that's happened in the last 8 years is anomalous to periods of time and things that have happened over the 250-year time we've been a country. I mean, we try to act like, oh my God, we've never seen this. But I mean, Woodrow Wilson hosted a Klan movie in the White House. Like we had a chance at the country having a true racial reckoning, and then post-Reconstruction or the end of Reconstruction to basically guarantee a White House, they said, okay, we'll just, we'll pull the troops out of the South and you're on your own for the next 70 years. We used to live in a time of political assassination just with regularity. So I try not to be hyperbolic about where we are, because to me it lionizes where we've been. And I think we are who we are as a country, and we are attempting to be a truly multiracial democracy, and, it's fits and starts. What I will say is this: it has become popular to say you should not judge people for their politics. And I am just here to say, please judge me for mine. I want to be judged for my politics. I think that who you are politically is very often a very true testament to who you are. And so if you ask me my values, that aligns with my political leanings, and my values are who I am. And so I get bothered by this idea that it is a failing to judge people for their politics. I don't think it's a failing. I think it's what we're supposed to do. And if you have had your eyes wide open the last decade and you today are like, listen, I like what Donald Trump represents, whether it is because purely, like some of my buddies who are big in the poker world, I'm pretty convinced they are a single issue voter, and the single issue is their crypto portfolio. And they just think Trump will be better for crypto. So they're going with him. I judge you for that, flatly. Listen, I make a ton of money. I don't, the idea though that I would vote one way based purely off top marginal tax rate, I judge myself for that. You can, but you deserve, in my opinion, to be judged for that, positively or negatively. And so that's kind of my takeaway. This idea of like that, oh no, yeah, of course it's a private decision, but if you publicly espouse support for something that I think is anathema to what the country is supposed to be, which is a multicultural democracy where, because we're the richest country to ever live, we have a built-in, legitimate, long-term social safety net, you can feel differently. But it probably means I wouldn't enjoy, a dinner party with you. So I don't know if that answers your question. I apologize if my internet connection's bad right here, but that's how I feel.
So you heard what Nick Wright had to say. What are my thoughts on this? I'm just going to speak from my personal experience. As someone that has been adverse to speaking about politics over the last few months now, about 5 months ago, I decided, hey, you do have some thoughts on some broader societal issues. Why don't you start focusing on discussing a little bit of politics? And what we decided to do was do a few experimental shows, right? Where we just produce a topic and see how it performed. Now, the reason we produced those shows is really to test whether or not we can actually produce an 8 to 10 minute segment on a particular political topic. And whenever we produced it, the videos usually came out successful. But there was always one issue. Regardless of the topic we were discussing, whether if it was pro-Trump, pro-Kamala, pro-conservatism, pro-liberalism, the videos always lost us subscribers. And what we quickly realized was, this is very, very polarizing. This is very, very polarizing. I also realized that no matter what I said, there were always going to be people that would disagree. And it's not like if somebody disagrees with me on a basketball topic. People can disagree with you on a basketball topic and still tolerate you. But when it comes to politics, people are much more, because politics really speaks to your values and the way you see the world. So I said to myself, and we said, look, you know what? If we're going to talk about politics, we're going to talk about it on a totally different channel. And let everybody go over there and cuss each other out. And then that's what that channel is for. And let's separate it. There's no point in hurting this business to start another. Let's just start that there and let's do it on a separate channel. And what we did was we gave our audience the choice to say, hey, look, if you're here for sports, watch sports. That's all we're going to talk about on this channel. Sometimes we talk about broader issues, but generally it's sports. Now, if you want to hear what we think about some political issues and things happening around the world, subscribe to this channel. Therefore, you don't have any conflict of interest. People know exactly what they're getting, and there's no confusion. And we don't confuse the people that initially signed on for sports by then start talking about politics and vice versa. So we did that. In the case of Nick Wright and what he's doing, I think is a mistake, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason I think is a mistake is that you could end up doing more harm than good. Number one. Number two, I think your predisposition about the space is convoluted. Why am I saying that? The first reason I say you can be doing more harm than good is that you can risk alienating viewers for the simple reason that you just started to discuss politics in the first place. Because again, people maybe tune in to FS1 and First Things First for sports. And now if people start seeing you talking about other things, they may say, oh man, I want to go somewhere else. That's the first reason. The second reason is people can tune in and come in with an open mind. And then you say something that they disagree with and they're like, I'm out of here. I'm done with this guy. That's number two. And number three, you can end up hurting your business. So instead, if you want to delve into the political realm, I think that you should create a separate platform to do so. And you can talk about politics as much as you want to talk about. There's no need to destroy one business just to build another when you can maintain this one and go do something else. Now, some people say, oh, no, man, you got to talk about it. You're a big voice in media and this and this and this. I agree. You can talk about things. The question is, where do you talk about those things? And you can't mislead your audience by telling them, it's like you open up a store where they sell hamburgers. And you're like, we sell the best hamburgers in Detroit, for example. And then you walk in and they're selling pizza. And it's like, bro, I've been coming here for the last 6 years. You guys sell burgers. Now all of a sudden you're selling pizzas. What's going on? They're like, yeah, well, we want to diversify. We want to see if we're good at making pizzas. And like, bro, that's not why I signed up. You do that long enough, they're like, man, these people ain't serious. Let me go down the street. That's the same thing. So to me, I think is a mistake, but I think it's something that's also important. And some people who may be inspired by Nick Wright and what he's doing need to be very careful. Nick Wright and people like Nick Wright get paid per contract. Number one, they're contract based. So they get paid, they sign a contract for 4 or 5 years, number one. Number two, they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars to talk about that. And if you already have 20, 15, $20 million in the bank, the likelihood of you saying something and not being afraid of the ramifications is a lot, in terms of you being afraid, is much lower than a person who doesn't have nowhere near that money and then deciding to take a similar risk. So if you don't have millions and millions of dollars, or rather F you money, be careful. Be careful. That's why if you're going to look at a situation, look at it clearly. Look at it very, very clearly before you decide to delve in it. But these are just my thoughts on the issue. What I want to know from you guys, where do you stand on this issue? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And we'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace.